More than 200 people attempting to shut down central London have been arrested on the second day of the Extinction Rebellion protest today. They targeted government buildings, gluing themselves to the Department of Transport and chaining themselves to a lorry. From Westminster, Chloe Keedy reports.
It's not paramedics, but police carrying this stretcher.
Well done!
And the protesters strapped to it would tell you this is a real emergency.
Thank you!
He's one of hundreds camped outside the Home Office to demand action on climate change.
What the scientists said would happen has started. Millions of people are going to die before 2050, and then it's going to get worse.
Some slept in tents on the concrete, others underneath this lorry. By mid-morning, they were surrounded by police officers, but determined to hold their ground.
Because you are breaching Section 14 of the Public Order Act, right? You're under arrest.
Is this worth it?
Well, I hope so.
Boris, our Prime Minister, has referred to you as a bunch of crusties. Doesn't look like you.
Hi Boris, it's really rude of you to say that. We're here, there are ex-policemen here, there's an ex-chief constable here, there are doctors here, there are teachers, there are people that work for councils.
It's a bit scary, it's uncomfortable, it's unusual for somebody like me to be doing something where you'll end up the wrong side of the law perhaps. But I don't see any alternative.
Outside the Houses of Parliament, police attempted to move protesters who were blocking the road.
So what's happening in there behind us is a sit-down protest. Now, the police have just moved in, but people are refusing to move. So they're having to be carried out one by one and arrested.
Police say they learnt important lessons from policing these protests in April.
We've made a significant number of arrests over the last day and a half. We've seized 8 lorry loads worth of equipment that was brought in by the protesters to enable them to sustain their protest on the streets for a 24-hour period for up to 2 weeks. So yes, we've definitely taken a much more robust approach.
With most of Westminster still closed to traffic today, we found sympathy running in short supply.
It's chaos. It is, makes it so much more difficult. I mean, they've got a point, but...
Costing me a fortune.
But they say peaceful protest is the only way to protect the future of the planet. Chloe Keedy, ITV News, Westminster.
Well, joining me now in the studio are 2 protesters who have been arrested now and during the last protest by Extinction Rebellion. Muthir Rahman was arrested last night and Etienne Stott was detained in April. Guys, glad you could actually join me here today, particularly you, Muthir. Let's just start with this. Boris Johnson describes you and your co-protesters as uncooperative crusties who should stop blocking our streets with their heaving, hemp-smelling bivouacs. Your thoughts? I mean, he's clear on his view.
Yeah, well, he's not really representing the diverse voices that are here. I mean, I'm here as XR Muslims. We've got a whole group that is supporting the need. We're on a faith bridge, so all the different faith groups were there. We've got 3 police officers, chief superintendents who are saying there is an absolute need for people to be on the streets to bring this story of climate and the cultural emergency to the forefront. With respect, you would say that, wouldn't you? But do you worry, Etienne, do you worry that, you know, in April, we saw that there was quite a degree of support for what Extinction Rebellion were doing and the message, of course. Do you think you're in danger of losing that support from Londoners when they can't get home from work, when they can't get across their bridge, when ambulances perhaps can't get to hospitals? Do you worry?
Absolutely, we worry, but I don't think that's the case. I actually think public support is growing all the time. And for the record, we don't stop ambulances getting around. You know, I actually believe the British public are getting more and more educated. They're beginning to realise that Extinction Rebellion are doing a massively important job in bringing our government to account, telling them to act now, because this is an emergency situation. The window is closing now. We need to act. Do you think you're getting more or less support this time round than in April? Particularly, we've got people like Greta Thunberg making a huge impact, particularly on younger people. I think the support is continuing to grow. I mean, after the April rebellion, we had the YouGov poll, I think, showed 85% support and interest in that this was one of the crucial matters of people's lives. And we now need to just keep drilling down into that and say, look, the Parliament's declared a climate and ecological emergency, but they haven't taken any actions about it. We've still got, like, Heathrow Terminal 3 expansion, we've got HS2. So unless we act
nothing's going to happen.
You were arrested last night. You luckily made it out to join us here in the studio. You're a lawyer, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you worry that, you know, some people involved in these protests, the young people, they get their futures in front of them, they're going to be arrested, perhaps get a criminal record? Is that the most responsible thing for them to be doing or to be encouraging?
Look, it's not an easy choice to make. And we've got to each stand with our own lives. Like, we've got a responsibility to make the choices that we think are, at this crucial time, morally necessary. And, you know, we've got the UN saying by 2020, if something isn't done now, then we've missed that tipping point. So we're standing here now in that time to make those choices.
Etienne, you were arrested in April. Are you willing to get arrested again this time round?
I have not quite decided, and the police will probably find out at some point, but I actually believe it's one of the most powerful things an individual can do, to say, actually, to show people, well, I'm just a normal person, I'm a good person, well, I'm prepared to do this, because I believe this is so important, and this is perhaps the only way we can actually get people to listen. For me, it's absolutely the sensible and responsible thing to be doing. All
right, listen, this is your message, this is how you want to get things across. Others might argue the police have got better things to do, but that's the argument, isn't it, right there? I just want to say thank you very much for joining me here tonight, Muthiah and Etienne. Thank you both. Thank you.
Thank you.